Okay, let's dive right into this. Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're unpacking a really fascinating and honestly, absolutely crucial concept in personal finance, the $100,000 tipping point. We're going to look at this magical, almost invisible moment where your focus completely flips from the sheer grind of saving to the incredible power of investing. We're talking about hitting what's called escape velocity. So if you've ever felt like you're just endlessly pushing a giant boulder uphill with your money, well, this explainer is going to show you exactly when and how that boulder finally crests the peak. So picture this for a second. Imagine it's 3 in the morning. You just suddenly wake up in the pitch dark. But instead of that usual knot of financial stress in your stomach, you have this absolutely surreal realization. Your bank account actually earned more money while you were fast asleep than you did during your entire 8-hour shift at work yesterday. Seriously, just let that sink in. Earning more money totally unconscious than you did actively trading a third of your day for a paycheck? No way, right? But it's real. And that right there perfectly highlights the massive contrast between two completely different ways of living. The old way, that's the frantic 3 a.m. mental math. I mean, we've all been there, right? Staring up at the ceiling, calculating car payments, stressing over the mortgage, just trying to make the numbers work. But the new way is sleeping deeply. Why? Because you've crossed an invisible barrier that, frankly, 90% of people will literally never see. You're not playing financial defense anymore. You've reached a totally new altitude. Now, we need to define what this new altitude actually is. We call it escape velocity. It's this precise, beautiful moment when the math of compound interest actually becomes more powerful than your manual labor. In the world of financial psychology, it's like, well, it's that exact moment your metaphorical boulder finally crests the top of the hill and just starts rolling down the other side entirely on its own momentum. Your money has effectively taken over the heavy lifting. You're not the only one clocking in anymore. But getting to that escape velocity, it's a literal climb. It really is, and we need to map out how it actually happens, because it certainly doesn't happen overnight. Step 1 is hitting your first $1,000. Let's be real, this stage is brutal. It takes pure willpower and some really uncomfortable lifestyle changes just to scrape that together. Then you hit step 2, $10,000. Okay, now you've bought yourself a little breathing room. You shift from total, constant financial panic to maybe just mild annoyance when an unexpected bill pops up. And then step 3 is $20,000. The source material brilliantly calls this walking away money because it finally lets you negotiate life from a position of strength rather than, desperation. But then you keep climbing and you hit this, $100,000. Now, a lot of people just think of 100K as a nice, round, big-sounding number, but it is so much more than a milestone. It's the ultimate threshold. When you hit $100,000, the entire scale of things just completely transforms the math of your life. This is that tipping point where your money actually puts on a hard hat and goes to work for you. Let's actually translate this dry math into a bit of a staggering reality check. Say you have that hard-fought $1,000 from step 1, and it grows by an average of 8%. Okay, you made $80. Hey, that's great. That's a really nice dinner out for sure. But when you have $100,000 earning that exact same 8%, your money just handed you $8,000. Same effort from you, which is 0, by the way, but an absolutely life-altering shift in the actual result. $8,000. I really have to emphasize this because this is where it gets incredibly exciting. That $8,000, you earned that entirely while you were sleeping or eating or hanging out with your kids. It acts like a massive raise at your job, but, and here's the best part, it requires absolutely 0 extra meetings with a toxic boss, 0 extra stress, and 0 extra hours away from the people you love. Your money did the entire thing. And this math leads us directly into the psychology of money, which is where the real transformation happens. See, when you don't have this foundation, you're just stuck in constant survival mode. When you're constantly gasping for financial air, your brain gets totally hijacked by immediate threats. And because of that, you really have no choice but to say yes. You say yes to the toxic boss. You say yes to the unreasonable overtime. You say yes to that soul-crushing commute. You become a captive audience simply because you can't afford to say otherwise. But the moment you hit that $100,000 foundation, you unlock this, the power of no. And let me tell you, this is the ultimate superpower. Hitting this tipping point fundamentally changes your entire relationship with work, and honestly, with the world. You start carrying yourself with this unignorable confidence. You stop being a captive audience to banks or dealerships or terrible employers. You finally have the real leverage to just look at a bad deal or a promotion that would completely destroy your work-life balance and say, No. And this brilliantly illustrates a trap that society sets up to steal this superpower away from you, the success mirage. See, society is constantly telling you that success looks like immediately stretching yourself to buy that $500,000 starter home, just to prove to everyone that you've made it. But really, chasing that mirage just turns your life into an endless financial stress simulator. Real wealth isn't a stressful mortgage you can barely afford. It's the true autonomy and freedom to actually design your own life. Which perfectly brings us to those societal expectations that are literally designed to steal your freedom. The source material calls out things like the wedding industrial complex. These kinds of pressures, along with the expectation to buy flashy status symbols, are actually carefully orchestrated systems of wealth destruction. They're built from the ground up to separate you from your hard-earned money, usually hiding behind the guise of tradition or just keeping up appearances. Let's actually look at a pretty brutal example that highlights this trap perfectly. Imagine completely trading away your escape velocity for a depreciating asset with cup holders. Say someone buys a flashy $70,000 truck, right? And they falsely justify it as a need for reliability. But when you factor in the interest, the insurance, the gas, the depreciation, they end up spending a staggering $130,000 over 7 years. And at the end of the whole shebang, that piece of metal is worth maybe $15,000. They literally traded their ultimate financial superpower for a rapidly declining asset. So, avoiding these traps, it requires a radical identity shift. And look, reaching this milestone is absolutely not about being some penny-pinching miser who never enjoys a single day of their life, not at all. It's actually about a profound psychological change. It's about becoming the kind of person who values their future autonomy, their peace, and their freedom way, way more than they value today's fleeting social status. You just start doing a completely different kind of math than the rest of the world. And the reward for making that identity shift is just incredible. Once you cross this invisible barrier, your money literally becomes your most productive employee. The source notes something amazing here. The timeline for your next $100,000 shrinks drastically. Because remember, all your existing money is now working full-time for you. That compounding effect accelerates. The boulder is rolling downhill, it's picking up speed, and it's getting larger all on its own. Everything we've been talking about can really be crystallized into one core idea from the text. Real wealth isn't equity you can't access or a shiny object in the driveway. Real wealth is freedom. That right there is the absolute core takeaway of this explainer. Wealth is not about what you can show off to your neighbors. It's ultimately about the ability to design your life exactly the way you want it, instead of just constantly reacting to emergencies and demands. So, as we wrap up, I want to leave you with one final provocative question to think about. What will you say no to today to build your foundation? Whether you start by setting aside $50 a month or $500 a month, the goal is to systematically cross those invisible barriers. It's about making the math finally start working for you instead of against you. Build that foundation. Reach that tipping point. Do it so you can finally say no to the things that don't matter and give a resounding yes to the life you actually want. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and hey, good luck building your escape velocity.